I've got a crazy story to share. It's a wild tale about betrayal, power struggles, and the ultimate showdown between a husband and his wife's boss. Trust me, you won't want to miss how this one plays out. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get started. 1. Setting the stage. So, picture this. I'm happily married to my wife, Sarah. We've been together for a few years, and honestly, things were going great. She's a strong, independent woman, and we have a wonderful life together. But, like most of us, she's got a job. She works for a big company, and let me tell you, that's where things took a strange turn. 2. Enter the boss. Her boss, let's call him Mr. Richards, is a real piece of work. At first, I thought he was just a regular, successful businessman. But as I got to know him, I realized something wasn't quite right. Mr. Richards acted like he owned the world, especially when it came to Sarah. He always seemed to give her this special treatment. He'd call her into his office more often than any other employee. Sometimes, they'd stay in there for hours, working late into the evening. And don't get me wrong, I trust my wife. But there was something about Mr. Richards that just didn't sit right with me. It was like he thought he was her alpha, you know? 3. The signs of trouble. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Maybe I was just overreacting, right? But, listen, the signs were hard to ignore. Mr. Richards would make little comments, like, "You're so much better than the others around here, Sarah. I don't know how they manage without you." And sometimes, after hours of work, he'd walk her out of the office. He was always too touchy, putting his hand on her back or shoulder, and I could tell she was uncomfortable. I'm not saying anything was happening at that point, but my gut was telling me something was off. I couldn't shake the feeling that Mr. Richards was overstepping his boundaries. 4. The revelation. Things escalated one night when Sarah came home late. She looked shaken, her face was pale, and I could see something was bothering her. I asked her about her day, and at first, she brushed it off. But I wasn't buying it. So, I pressed her a little more. Finally, she admitted it. Apparently, Mr. Richards had made an inappropriate suggestion. He hinted that maybe they could get away for a weekend to talk about her career progression. But Sarah knew exactly what he meant. It wasn't about her career at all. She was feeling trapped and didn't know what to do. That's when I knew. I had to take action. 5. Confrontation with Mr. Richards. Now, I don't normally go around picking fights, but this time, I had no choice. The next day, I marched right into that office. I didn't care who saw me. I was going to confront Mr. Richards and put him in his place. I walked in, and there he was, sitting behind his big desk with that smug look on his face. He didn't even flinch when I entered. But I wasn't going to let that stop me. "Mr. Richards, I know what you're doing with my wife, and it ends today. You're not her alpha, and I'm not going to stand by and let you manipulate her anymore. You stay in your lane, or I'll make sure everyone knows what you've been up to." 6. The aftermath. Mr. Richards didn't say a word after that. He just stared at me, but I could see the fear in his eyes. I knew that I'd won. He never tried anything with Sarah again, and soon after, he was reassigned to a different department. Looking back, I'm proud of how I handled it. I trusted my instincts, stood up for my wife, and made sure no one disrespected her. But the truth is, it wasn't just about me. It was about Sarah's safety, her dignity, and making sure that no one took advantage of her kindness. 7. Closing thoughts. Guys, I think we can all agree that when you love someone, you'll do anything to protect them. And while this story may sound intense, it's a reminder that sometimes, standing up for the people we care about is the most important thing we can do. Trust your instincts, and never let anyone make you feel powerless in your own relationship. If you've enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had a similar experience? What did you do? Let me know.